Hey Eurovision fans, who are the countries with the most momentum in Eurovision right now, getting stronger and stronger each year and coming for that Eurovision trophy? And who are the countries who have the worst momentum, who've lost their way and are sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss? We're going to look at the stats from the last 10 years to work out the top 5 growers and the bottom 5 sinkers in recent Eurovision history and talk about what they're doing right and wrong. So let's kiki. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. So in 2023, I did a video called the top 44 in Eurovision in the last 10 years, where I basically took all the rankings from all the countries, I averaged them out, and then saw who's number one in terms of average result. So this is like a sister video to that, but instead of looking at the overall rankings over 10 years, instead I'm looking whose average ranking has improved the most in the last 5 years and whose has worsened the most in the last 5 years. So I'm going to explain quickly how I worked this out. If you want to skip straight to the video, I will leave timestamps in the progress bar so you can skip immediately to the 5th place grower if you're not too concerned with all the behind the scenes stats stuff. Okay, so the way I worked this out was I took all the results between 2013 and 2017, so that's a 5-year block, and I averaged out each country's ranking over those 5 contests. So I've done out Sweden here, and if you see their results between 2013 and 2017, we have 14th, 3rd, 1st, 5th, and 5th, which gives them an average ranking of 5.6, and that's the 3rd best average score out of everyone who was in the contest during that period. Then I did the same for the results between 2018 and 2023. They had 7th, 5th, 14th, 4th, and 1st, which gave them an average rank of 6.2, which puts them as the number 2 country in that period, behind Italy. So I have 2 separate lists of how people did in that first 5-year block and the second 5-year block. They have improved +1. So very consistent. Sweden are amazing, very consistently strong. So they're obviously not going to feature in the top 5 of this video because this video is looking at countries who've changed their fortunes, either gotten better or gotten worse. Sweden have been consistently great, so there's not much of a change. They're going from 3rd to 2nd, only +1 difference. So that's why I'm using them as an example to show you the system, what these graphics are going to look like later on. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at the countries that have the best momentum right now, who in the last 5 years have improved their rankings the most compared to 2013, 2017. And in 5th place in those rankings is Lithuania. So first of all, Lithuania are 16th in the overall rankings in the last 10 years. So we can see in those first 5 years, their overall rank was 28th best. And in the last 5 years, overall ranking was 7th. So that's really crazy. Lithuania in the top 10 in the last 5 years. And that's just from this consistency. If you see coming 12th in 2018, 8th, 14th, and 11th. So 4 out of 5 qualifications. And all of those qualifications pretty much being on the left side of the scoreboard. 14th is just off of the left side of the scoreboard, basically in the top half with almost all of them. Super, super consistent. I think Lithuania's revamp happened in 2021, I believe. They did a revamp of Pabandom Išnaho. I know visually it had a revamp. I'm not sure what other little things they did behind the scene, but I definitely remember seeing people on Twitter talking about how it was getting a little bit of a makeover. So maybe some of the decision making behind the scenes was changed, or how they recruited acts, or how they tried to appeal to a greater amount of artists. But definitely there has been this real improvement in the last 3 years. We've had really high quality artists in those 3 years. You think about The Roop, Monica Leo, Monica Linkite. These are like really high quality season performers. Fantastic performances, no nerves, no shakes. Vocally sounded perfect, great charisma. So overall that gives them a improvement over the last 5 years of +21 in the overall rankings. We can also see in 2016 Donny Montel came 9th. If you were to remove that result, then their increase in results would have been +27, which would have put them even higher up in the growers. So Lithuania is the only country in the Baltics who hasn't won yet. Estonia got their win in 2001. Latvia got their win in 2002, so we're just waiting on Lithuania now. I feel like they're the strongest of the 3. Really, look at these last 3 results are really, really excellent. They just need to keep chipping away at it. I think they've got a good system right now. I think they've got really good trajectory. They just need to continue that up, get these really high quality artists, keep sending stuff that's very edgy. I feel like The Roop and Monica Leo were very unusual songs. I did think that Monica Linkite last year was a little bit more on the safe side, a little bit more jury bait, although the staging was really beautiful. Lithuania making some very good decisions recently, so I hope that that is going to culminate in them getting their first Eurovision win. Okay, our fourth biggest grower is Albania. So you might be a little bit surprised by this because they haven't had any like big wow results coming top 10 or top 5 recently. Between 2013 and 2017, there's a lot of red there, coming 34th, 34th, 37th, 34th. So pretty much not qualifying, but also not really being close to qualifying either. And then 2015, that's I'm Alive, coming 17th, so one good result in that period, but largely not doing great. And that was when they were largely singing in English. They were translating the songs into English and it wasn't particularly translating well. I'm sure there were other facets as well as to why the songs weren't doing great, but I think one of them was maybe the lyrics sounding a little bit awkward, not taking advantage of that very pretty Albanian language. And then we could see this big change going into 2018 when Eugen Bushpepa came 11th, which is their best result in this 10-year period. And then 17th, 21st, one non-qualification with Ronella in 2022, which should have been a qualification. That song was definitely of a high enough quality to be in the final. I don't know what happened behind the scenes that the staging just deteriorated in comparison to the national final. The national final just felt much more put together and chic, just kind of cooler, and then the actual staging, there were just some elements of it which were quite messy, but the song itself was excellent. So that should have been probably another between 18th and 20th place if the staging had been done correctly. So really super consistent in that 5-year period. Their overall ranking there is 19th. Their overall ranking in the previous period was 42nd, which is third last. So they really were one of the worst countries in Eurovision during that first 5-year period, and they've turned it around now. I recently just did my Albania video talking about Besa, who's representing them this year. I do feel like Albania's fallen into a formulaic pattern now of sending songs that seem very, very similar, artists that seem quite similar in their style as well. I can kind of see it's working for them. Like you can see they've got 4 out of 5 qualifications. Really, it should have been 5 out of 5 qualifications. So do they want to change something that's kind of doing the job? Maybe RTSH don't want to host, in which case this is perfect scenario because they're qualifying, but they're not at risk of winning. So maybe this is what RTSH wants, and they're not sending someone who's doing anything naughty or causing a lot of well, not too much controversy. There was a little bit of controversy with Ronella. But yeah, this is an improvement of 23 ranking spots between the early 5 years and the later 5 years. So really great from Albania. I want to see them get towards the top 10 though. I want to see them challenging. They aren't going to do it this year, definitely not. They do need to go a bit more edgy, a bit more risky if they want to break into the top 10. But at least their momentum is good right now. So that's good news for Albania. Okay, so number 3 in our rankings for the biggest improvement is Cyprus. Really amazing result from Cyprus. You can see now 38th in 2013, and then they took a 1-year break. They came back, very consistent return, 22nd, 21st, 21st. Those are 3 internal selections. All I think from the same competition. It was Hovig, -1, and John Karianis. Those are all from the same national final. So qualifying, but not really doing too much when they made the final, being kind of close to the bottom 5. And then we have into this later period where they've been 2nd, 13th, 16th, non-qualifying with Andromache, and then 12th. So again, super consistent with one really high result coming 2nd place. And if you average those all together, Cyprus are 6th in the last 5 years. So that is really incredible for such a small country. I think 1.2 million, very limited resources. They're thinking outside the box. They are working hard. They're planning. They're saying, okay, what can we work with? How can we find these good artists? Looking far afield to find Eleni Ferreira or Andrew Lambro, or this year they've got Celia Kapsis. If that's what they need to do, it's working for them right now. Really, really impressive that such a small country with a small population, so a lot less talent, not just in artists, but in producers, songwriters, just a lot less of everything to pull on, are able to be 6th in the rankings in the last 5 years. Really excellent. So their previous results, they were 31st. Now they're 6th. That gives them an improvement of 25. Okay, it's time for our number 2 grower, and that is Czechia. They weren't participating in 2013 or 14, but they had 3 results in, so I did count them in that early 5-year period, coming 34th, qualifying and coming 2nd last. That was I Stand, and then 33rd in 2017. Now, I have to admit, 2015 for me was an amazing song, Hope Never Dies. I think that was my number 2 or 3 that year. If you're a new Eurovision fan, you need to go check that out. It's a very cool pop rock ballad, totally robbed, 100% total Robbie. I'm calling the police right now. So again, that should have been better. And then I Stand as well was also a gorgeous song. I think that was written by an Irish songwriter as well. 2017 was terrible. But then since 2018, really turning things around, 6th place, 11th, bit of a blip in 2021. I still don't understand what went on there with Benny Cristo. His 2020 song was excellent. 2021 song was fine, but the staging was just really super flat. But then back to 22nd and 10th. So that's 4 out of 5 qualifications. Really, really excellent. 2 top 10 finishes, and that top 10 finish from Vesna was really excellent. A lot of doubts about whether they could sing or perform. It was a really strong year. The staging was really excellent. That was some fantastic staging decisions that brought them up to 10th. That song very easily could have been 17th, 18th if it wasn't for the really, really great decisions that they're making. So we know that Czechia have very limited resources. There's not a huge fan base for Eurovision in Czechia, but they're being really resourceful and efficient in how they use very little that they have. How can they elevate? How can they work hard to make this work? It's really showing plus 26 in their early 5-year versus late 5-year rankings. That's really excellent. I feel like Czechia are one of the countries who've never won before, who will eventually get a win. I don't know if it's going to happen this year with Pedestal, unless there's like some sort of a gigantic revamp, but I still don't see it even with a revamp. Don't underestimate the Czech delegation. They have consistently shown that they know what they're doing. They've got their finger on the pulse. They've got imagination and creativity, so they can elevate. And also, in case you're wondering, if you remove that Benny Cristo result from 2021, Czechia will be 5th in the rankings for the last 5 years, and they would be number 1 of this list if it wasn't for Benny Cristo. They would have had the biggest improvement, going from 40th to 5th. That's a plus 35 improvements. Really, really great work from Czechia there. Okay, and finally, who is the biggest grower of the last 5 years? The trophy goes to Switzerland. And it's going to make sense when you look at these results. 31st, one good result with Subalter in 2014, coming 13th, but then back to last place in 2015, second last place in 2016, 29th place in 2017. So 4 out of 5 non-qualifications. Switzerland were just a non-entity back then. If you were not a Eurovision fan during this period, nobody cared about Switzerland. They just weren't on people's radar. Their system wasn't particularly great. They just weren't a country who people got massively excited about. But that all changed in 2019. 2018 as well, they've got one bad result, coming 32nd. 2019, I believe they started this new system where they did more in-depth internal selection, getting panels of juries and fans and demoscopic juries, etc., to kind of weed through all the songs. I'm sure they probably reached out to a few more artists as well, kind of promising we'll give you more support. We're going to try and up our game a little bit. They managed to get Luca Hani, who won The Voice Switzerland, I think, or The Voice Germany, and he ended up coming 4th out of 41 in 2019. They followed that immediately up with John's Tears coming 3rd, and then a 17th and a 20th place. So 4 male ballads, getting them 4 top 20 finishes. Really, really massive improvement. That old period, they were 41st out of 44 countries, so 4th last. And without that Subalter result, I think they probably would have been last. Yeah, without Subalter, they would have been completely last. And then we look and see this new period ranked 8th. And also, if we get rid of the result from 2018, which I think is Zib's Stones, then they would have been 5th in the rankings. Currently, they're 8th in the last 5 years. Still a really, really excellent result. Huge turnaround from Switzerland. And I can really feel that in myself and also in the community, that people are excited for the Swiss song now. It's something I look forward to every year. I know we're going to get a really high quality artist internally selected with a music video. We're going to get it kind of like early March, and it's going to be quality. There's going to be classiness to it as well. So huge turnaround. Again, if you weren't a fan back in this 2013 to 2017, 2018 really period, or you probably might not have realized that Switzerland used to suck so much. But yeah, they've made a huge improvement, a change in plus 33. That is by far the biggest change in the last 5 years. So well done to Switzerland, getting results quite quickly from some pretty big changes. It just shows you that sometimes you can have your turnaround quite quickly. Okay, so before we get to our 5 biggest losers, I want to give a couple of shout outs because you might have been wondering where these countries were. So the first one is Finland. You might be thinking, why aren't Finland on the list? Finland are definitely improving. They were pretty close. They've had a change in plus 18, which puts them 8th in terms of improving over the last 5 years. But keep in mind, in 2019, they had that pretty much last place place from Darude. That kind of dragged them down a lot. If you were to delete that result, they will be top 5 in the last 5 years, and they would have come second behind Switzerland. So yeah, just that one result kind of killing Finland out of the top 5. Also, a shout out to Portugal. I know that they've made big improvements as well, but those improvements started in 2017. So because of that, their first place finish being on the first 5 compared to the bottom 5. Because of that, they ended up being 22nd on one in the first 5 years and 22nd in the next 5 years. So that's why they didn't make the list. And also a shout out to Estonia. They were actually 6th in terms of the positive trajectory rankings, but because of that one good result in 2015 with Stig Resta and Alina Born, and then one bad result in 2021 with Ukusivista, that kind of skewed them up. If you were to delete those 2 results, then Estonia would be top 5 in the last 5 years, and they would be number 1 in terms of improvement, going from an average rank of 41st up to an average rank of 5th, which would be plus 36. Obviously now this is getting a little bit more fantasy because we're just like picking and choosing results. My point is that it kind of depends where you slice the year. Obviously, if I'd sliced in different parts, that would have favored the other countries, but the most logical thing is if you've got 10 years, split it down the middle. That's the most objective way to do it. So that's what I decided. But yeah, if I'd sliced at 2016 or 2018, we would have had different people. Okay, now let's go to our biggest 5 losers. These are the countries whose results in the last 5 years have been much worse than their period between 2013 and 2017. So in 5th place, we have Poland. They've actually got some pretty decent results between 2013 and 2017. 4 out of 4 qualifications, 14th, 23rd, a top 10 finishing with Michal Spock, and 22nd, and that gives them an overall ranking during that period of 14th. Compare that to the last 5 years where we had 3 non-qualifications in a row, and then a 12th and a 19th place, leaving them in 31st in the rankings. So when you compare those 2 5-year periods, that is a decrease in 17 ranking spots, so minus 17 for Poland. I just did my video about Justina recently potentially being one of the candidates to represent them. We know that TVP are undergoing a big revamp right now. 2018 Grammy not qualifying. That was a national final. Actually, the song that came number 2 in that national final, Happy Prince Don't Let Go. I really like that song. If you want an old male ballad, it sounds like a Sting song. And then 2 failed internal selections in 2019 and 2021. In fairness, 2019 they did actually qualify. One of the jurors made a mistake, and because of that, Palissier didn't get through. So that was actually kind of really unfair in a way. But overall, Poland not on a great trajectory right now. Will this revamp of TVP turn their fortunes around? So much talent in Poland. It's crazy they've never won Eurovision before. For me, that comes down to dodgy goings on behind the scenes. Also, if you have a national final or a broadcaster that is corrupt, whether it's true or not, perception is important, because if you've got a big artist and they don't want to go and they don't trust the broadcaster, they're not going to put forward their song. Same with composers as well. If you've got a great composer, a great producer, they're not going to want to put their work into a system where they feel like it's not fair. So these corruption, trust issues really permeate in a very big way and stop a country getting the best of their talent in the country. If TVP was to get cleaned up and they can really have a proper, fair environment, Poland should definitely be winning soon. So this is kind of, despite the fact this is in the bottom 5 losers right now, I think actually Poland could be entering an exciting period. Okay, our 4th biggest dropper is Georgia. This might not be too much of a surprise. We know that Georgia currently has a 6 non-qualification streak, and you can see that Georgia weren't always going through this tumultuous period. 3 out of 5 qualifications there, 15th, 11th and 20th, so pretty good results as well, interspersed with a 36th and a 27th spot. That 27th spot though is 11th qualifier, so just on the cusp of qualifying. And if you contrast that against the last 5 years where we have 41st, 33rd, 38th, 39th and 29th, so 5 non-qualifications, that's 6 in a row, an overall ranking of 42 out of 43, so second last in the last 5 years. Like, I don't know what's going on with Georgia. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. All I'll say is that in 2023, that song absolutely should have qualified. Echo. It was number 2 in the qualification odds after the song was released, and I don't know what the hell they did. The music video looked amazing. They had some great visual ideas, Great song. They had a lot of feedback that the lyrics didn't make sense and that bothered people. They didn't do anything about it. They just ignored it, despite the fact that Iru speaks excellent English, like totally fluent. Really bizarre that they give someone who's fluent in English a song that makes no sense. So there's just like weird decisions going on. 2022, Lock Me Down. Again, a really cool song, but the production was so flat. Why they didn't do a revamp to just make it more interesting? I thought the base product of that was excellent. Super cool visuals. But yeah, just like weird decisions. Missing open goals. I think that's how I describe Georgia. They have really great stuff and they just managed to mess it up. They're much stronger in Junior Eurovision. Their adult Eurovision formula though just is not working. They have had a decrease in 18 ranking spots between those first 5 years and the last 5 years. So 24th down to 42nd. They really need a massive revamp like all these countries at the start of the video had. They need to do something like Switzerland's doing or someone else. I think they need to get more input into how their song is chosen. Maybe get like more fans involved, get more international jury members. They definitely need to revamp, listen to feedback. People are telling you the problems with their song and they're doing nothing about it. It's really, really weird. If you know more about the Georgian delegation and what they're up to, please explain to me in the comments. I would love to know what's going on with them, but they're definitely on the wrong path right now. Okay, our third biggest dropper is not currently in the competition, and it might be because they dropped so much, and that is Hungary. You can see Hungary were so strong between 2013 and 2017, well 2018 really, with their national final Adal having 3 top 10 finishes, 10th, 5th and 8th, and then 2 other qualifications as well. And then contrast that in the last 5 years, they only competed twice, qualifying and coming 21st with AWS. And then 2019, shock non-qualifying, that was a qualifier in the odds. And then we don't know what happened. There was no official reason given, but they withdrew. Could it be that they were always planning to withdraw and they were waiting for a bad result? Or did it happen and then they made a spur of the moment decision? This is a great opportunity for us to pull out. Realistically, if Hungary had come 10th that year or 11th, they wouldn't have been able to pull out because people would have been so buzzed and excited that they would have like, what are you doing? We're really happy right now. Why are you crapping on our happiness? But because it was a non-qualification, you can see that's their first non-qualification in a very, very long time. Maybe the Hungarian government, Viktor Orban, thought this is the opportunity to strike and he removed them. Again, no official reason given, but the general consensus is that it's because it's an anti-LGBT plus thing. Will we get Hungary back? I think we probably will, but it'll require a government change. But yeah, very sad to see that Hungary are out. A change in ranking of -21. That's largely down to them being top 10 in that 2013 to 2017 period, being ranked 9th. I don't think their pulling out was justified by one bad result. Like you can see, they've got a lot of good results prior to that. Having won, and it wasn't even a terrible non-qualification. They came 28th out of 41. So they were just on the cusp of qualifying. So, but hopefully we get Hungary back soon. By the way, this isn't my Italy flag. This is my Italy flag. They look very similar. A lot of people say that to me in every video. I do have 2 separate magnets. Okay, second place in our droppers is Armenia. So again, it's very similar pattern to Hungary where they were so strong in 2013 to 2017 and then just not as in the last 5 period. 18th, 4th, 16th, 7th and 18th. 5 out of 5 qualifications. Armenia used to qualify so easily every single year. They were guaranteed because they were so strong in the contest. 2 top 7 finishes as well. 2014, that is RMMP3, Not Alone, and 2016, that is Love Way, Iveta Mukuchan. And then we can see this very sharp change in 2018 where they were in the death semi-final. I think that is the hardest semi-final that has ever existed in Eurovision ever. 19 countries, and it was just packed full of quality, apart from Iceland. Iceland's song that year was awful, but all the other 18 songs were really good. So they came 35th there, and then another non-qualification, and then they had to take 1 year off for political reasons, and they've come back and they've been having better momentum again, 20th and 14th, but not to the same impact that they had in 2013, 2017, where they were breaking into the top 10. I think this is more just the extreme of them having 2 bad results in the last 5 years. I think 2022 and 23 have actually been pretty good. I don't think Armenia are on a terrible trajectory right now, but I also don't feel the same impending victory that I felt in that 2013 to 2017 period where I kind of felt like Armenia were going to win very soon. I don't feel that as much now. I know Snap was successful after Eurovision, but I didn't really feel like Snap was ever talked about as a potential winner. I don't feel like Future Lover was talked about as a potential winner either. So I want to see Armenia in that discussion to be a potential winning song. They're amazing in Junior Eurovision. Milena has been writing their Junior Eurovision songs and she won Junior Eurovision for them as well. Maybe they can use her, bring her in, have her work with Tokyo 9 to do some more songwriting. I like that Armenia are going for this more singer-songwriter feel. The last two entries have been written by the artists who perform them, which is super cool. So I think the stats are a little bit lying here. I feel like Armenia actually were on a high. They've had a little bit of a blip and I think they're coming out now and they're improving again. But if we just stick to the objective numbers, they are -24 in the last 5 years and they are second on the droppers. That's Armenia. Okay, and let's go to our number one dropping country. No prizes if you correctly guessed who this country is, because I've done a video about their woes recently, and that is Romania. Yes, Romania, if you are a new Eurovision fan, you may be surprised to know that Romania used to be amazing at Eurovision. They had a 100% qualification record, which they lost in 2018, between 2013 and 2017, 13th, 12th, 15th and 7th. Really safe qualifications and then mid-table, and then that one result 7th in 2017. They've come 3rd twice as well. Romania used to be so strong, an overall rank of 7th during that first 5-year period, and then we contrast that to the last 5 years, 27th, 32nd, 28th, 36th, 4 non-qualifications, and then WRS coming 18th in 2022, but he did that all on his own. He did not use TVR during that period. He basically said, I did everything myself. I did the song myself. I performed it myself. I picked the theme. He did all the choreography, everything. So that was a one man. I'm sure he had some help, but I don't think he got the help from TVR. I actually did an episode about Romania, what's wrong with Romania, and that was before I knew about these numbers. I just had it in my heart that I felt that they really were sucking recently. Yeah, like Romania really are in trouble right now. We haven't even had confirmation for them for this year because they're trying to work out their budget. The really weird thing about this is that 2020 they had an internal selection with Roxanne and she had a 5-song final, and I remember the hype about that final was crazy. One of my most viewed videos ever. I remember thinking at the time, like, Romania are going to win really soon. This is a super cool new sound that they've got. They had all these cool new producers. It was like I was so optimistic at that period, and then they got totally screwed over by COVID because they couldn't sell Alcohol U, and then Roxanne came out next year, but TVR made some terrible decisions in her staging, really screwed her over, and she came 28th. This is definitely a systematic problem with the broadcaster. That's been pretty publicly known. Like this, that's not speculation. We all saw the interview with Theodore Andre this year with The Watcher. Really hope Romania can turn things around. Again, another country who's never won before. They've been third twice. Fingers crossed that they will be competing this year and they can turn this record around. So that's Romania. Okay, so those were the top 5 growers and flowers. Droppers, top 5 droppers. Were there any surprises for you? Was there anyone that you thought would be in the winners or in the losers section that wasn't? Obviously, I use a relatively simple formula to do this. If you have any other suggestions for formulas I can use, I don't want to make it too complicated because I want to make the concept of it accessible to everyone. I don't want to get into like too much weighting or where I draw the line is weird, different for each person. But if you have any suggestions about that, you can leave it in the comment section down below. No new donations on Buy Me a Coffee or PayPal, but if you do want to support the channel, I'll leave links here in the description. Of course, thank you to all my patrons for patronizing me from all over the world. On my Patreon, you can join our My Eurovision scoreboard group, some previews of videos that I'm working on, lots of juicy stuff like that. So if you're a fan of the channel, go check that out. You can do a free trial membership, I think, as well. I don't know, Patreon does all that. But as always, thank you so much just for watching, and I hope to see you on another Eurovision analysis video very soon. Goodbye.